Hey there, welcome back. Thanks for joining me. Well, I'm back in Jackson. I just wrapped up a week of treatment, 48 hours in the hospital. It all went well. This was the second time. So the whole treatment week, if you recall, is I land in Chicago on Monday morning from Jackson Hole. I go directly to the hospital. I get my blood work done. Which, by the way, this week, oh my gosh, I can't believe I almost forgot this. So when I got my blood work done this week, I like to think it's good news. So do you remember when I was telling you a while ago, there's a test, called your CEA, that it shows, it's a really good indicator, at least for me. It has been a very good indicator of when there's cancer traveling throughout my body. When it started to rise this past spring is when I went to my doctors and said, we got to go head to toe, it's moving, and we found it from a brain MRI, right? So that CEA number has been slowly coming down, which is good. Okay, so I feel like that means that maybe like we've got a hold of it. But there's another test, it's called your Signatera, which is like a genetic newfangled science of basically your traveling tumor marker. So your cancer that's traveling throughout your body. And again, in the spring, this has been a very good indicator for me for the past couple of years. And in the spring, it went the highest it's been since I got sick. And this past week, when I got my blood work, it came down. It is in normal range. So I think what that means is that we've gotten a hold of it, and maybe that means that I get to still be here this winter. So we'll see. Of course, we have tests in September to determine that. But anyways, this week, a whole week of treatment. This is the first time, and since this new treatment, that it all went smoothly, or I should say the second time. So I feel like we've got the protocol. I feel like we're in good shape. I mean, physically, it's, it is what it is. It has allowed me to be able to come back to Jackson every other week throughout this summer, and that's amazing. And this is our last week. We're actually, it's time to get ready to pull out of Jackson and make the drive across country and come home to Chicago full time for the fall. I've got some other plans for the fall this year. I want to go see the leaves in the Northeast. So it's the end of the summer, which is I'm very grateful to have that my wife. I'm very grateful to my former self, to our former selves, for planning for this type of our future, so that I had this place to come to. It's been really rough physically to package myself together and throw myself onto a plane and come back and forth every week, but it's been worth it because, well, I mean, mentally, but also, when my wife and I, when I got diagnosed, we were right at that stage. We were just about to enter into that next phase of life, right? I had just retired. She had just gotten this huge promotion, and we were going to. I was going to be her. I was going to be her bag lady. I was ready to go, and we were going to start to spend summers and winters in Jackson, and spring and fall in Chicago, and eventually over the course of, the next 10, 15 years, start to make it so that we spent more time in Jackson than we did anyplace else. But just as we were about to walk into that life, I was diagnosed with a terminal disease. So we have not been able to see that come true until this summer. And it's not exactly the way that we wanted it to be. As you know, I spent a couple weeks in the hospital out here, and it's been a we found that it moved to my head in the spring, so my wife and I really felt like we wanted to make sure we didn't miss out on the opportunity and make our dream come true of spending the summer out here. And so we have been going through the arduous journey of flying back and forth, and it's been worth it. I got to, my cousin got to come out from Minnesota, and so I got to celebrate with her and her family, and show them my happy place, which was wonderful. As you know, I've been to almost all of the United States except for it was Montana and Maine and Vermont, and now Montana is checked off the list because I got to go to Montana concert. That was great. I got to go hiking with my close friend Natalie and her family. As you remember, they came, and that was the first time I actually could go for a long walk after the hospital. So that was like power. That was awesome. And do you remember before the hospital, before I got sick, I went on that one last bike ride. 'Cause I haven't been able to ride my bike since because I've been dealing with dizziness. But it has been certainly has been a roller coaster of a summer, but it has been amazing, and I'm so happy that my wife and I were able to make this dream come true. Oh my gosh, I forgot to tell you about the fly fishing trip. So remember what a wonderful, like, basically close out to the summer. Riverbend Project is the name of this. So this lovely young man lost his sister to cancer, and he spent the last couple of months with her in nature and saw what it gave her for processing the management of her death. And so they came up with this idea to do fly fishing retreats to bring people out into nature, and it was really amazing. I was super scared that I wasn't going to be strong enough to be able to do it. I was afraid the dizzy spells that I've been having would prevent me, but those kind of subsided. My legs are covered in bruises from standing on the boat because I stood the whole time fishing, and we had bald eagles flying over us and something called a yellow eagle, which I didn't even know existed, which was huge. And we saw some bears. Oh my gosh, and we found a tank, a 1945 tank, like an amphibious tank, military tank in the middle of the woods when we went to pee. What? And it had a date on it from 1945. That was great. While we were checking it out, some black bears came to visit us, so we got back on the boat. It was such a lovely weekend. It was a bucket list for one lady that was there, had always wanted to do a fly fishing trip and could never afford it. And so for her to come, and another gentleman, he was in his 80s, and his wife was super emotional, and she was sharing. She was just so happy he had playmates because he was always very active, and this disease took him down. And the crew was so wonderful because they were so joyous, and they were treating us as if we were like capable, normal humans, even though being super careful to make sure that we didn't hurt ourselves, or like it, as is wont to do in Wyoming, a storm came through, and it covered us in wet rain. Well, of course, as cancer folks, we're like freezing, right? And they took care of us. It was just, there was no there was cancer if we wanted to talk about it. And of course, we do, because no one else understands what we're going through, but it was also just joyous and wonderful. They created a a picnic in a park, and the whole weekend was just beautiful. It was like a normal weekend. And all week when I was sitting in treatment, all I was thinking about was floating down that river for those 3 days, and how amazing that was, and what a gift that was. The Riverbend project. You know, people can choose to go super dark when they grieve, or you can choose to do something amazing. And this kid decided to do something amazing. He gave 6 of us cancer folks we were all in tears at the end of the weekend because it was just so beautiful. And what a way to wrap up my summer here, right? Just in time to go back to Chicago, and I have it lined up as I always do, so that all of my MRIs and CT scans and everything will be coming up soon. So back to reality, I suppose. Hopefully the power of nature helped to hold this little bugger at bay for a little bit longer. All right, well, I'm gonna pop inside because it is a little chilly out here, but I'm loving listening to the rain. We'll chat again soon. I'll talk to you next Sunday. Thanks as always for being here.